Hey, income growers and harvesters, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about two Bitcoin oriented exchange traded funds which use a covered call strategy. The good news is they also provide options income using covered call writing strategies, and they have an exposure to the Bitcoin directly or through the Bitcoin oriented funds or organizations or services. So let's look at it now. These are two newly launched funds from the basket of funds from Harvest ETFs. Uh, One of them is named Harvest Bitcoin Enhanced Income ETF, which is known as the HBIX. That's the ticker you see on my screen. The second fund is the HBTE, which is the Harvest Bitcoin Leaders Enhanced Income Exchange Traded Fund. This is the second fund. Let me go take you through one by one, and let's look at the pros and cons and different features of the fund. I'll first go through the HBIX, and at the end of the video, I'm going to share you the differences between the two, and also another older fund which you can look at as an alternative. So stay tuned till the end. Okay, let me first look at HBIX. This is the Harvest Bitcoin Enhanced Income ETF, and basically this HBIX invests all its assets into one or more ETFs that provide exposure to the moment of the price of Bitcoin. Basically, they invest in the iShares Bitcoin Trust ETF, and whatever is mentioned here, they are saying that the portfolio is basically overlaid with an active covered call strategy with a 25% leverage. So that's the whole strategy behind this fund. There are two parts to it. First is they hold the Bitcoin exchange traded funds for investment, so they get exposure to the price of the Bitcoin. Plus, they write covered calls on the same ETF, which actually generates income. And to enhance that income, they are adding 25% leverage. So it's just a simple covered call strategy with a 25% leverage. So the basic key facts about the fund is here. The ticker symbol is HBIX, traded on the Toronto Stock Exchange, and the currency is Canadian dollars. And you have the price around $12, 11.94 currently. And you can look at the different aspects of it. Management style is active. The distribution is monthly, and the first distribution they have estimated is about 24 cents. However, this is variable and can change in future. The fund was recently launched in April 30, 2025. So obviously it's a new fund, so it's too early to make any judgments about the performance. I would say if you're looking at this fund, you have to give it some few more months to see how it performs and how consistent the distributions are, and if it's able to hold its NAV or price. And the risk they say is pretty high because obviously you're investing in new asset class like a Bitcoin. Okay, portfolio is simply a mix of Bitcoin and some cash. So I can see here the portfolio, it says iShares Bitcoin Trust ETF. So in the summary of the investment objective, they mentioned that they would be holding any Bitcoin ETF. Currently, it is IBIT, which is the iShares Bitcoin Exchange Traded Fund. However, in future this could change, but more or less it's going to be any Bitcoin exchange traded fund and supported by some amount of leverage. That's why you see 124%. So it's going to be approximately close to 125% because they use some leverage to enhance the returns, which means that they can buy more units of the Bitcoin and also write more covered calls. So obviously it will increase the income. So here they have mentioned the benefits of investing in HBIX: access to Bitcoin through an exchange traded fund, no hassle of maintaining the Bitcoin wallets or custody yourself, and obviously covered call strategy, monthly distributions, and lower volatility, and tax efficiency. You can hold in different tax advantaged accounts, and there's a modest leverage of 25%. With regard to tax, etc., you need to look into the fund documents or even consult with your accountant or auditor or even tax consultant, for example. You can do that. Here it says management fees 65 basis points, 0.65, which is reasonable for an active covered call strategy. And distribution is monthly and it's variable. So these are the basic features of HBIX. So nothing so complicated, but it's just exposure to Bitcoin plus income added with 25% leverage. And there are a few other small points which I will come to when we make a comparison of these two funds. So the next fund I will go to is the HB, which is also launched recently in the same period that the other fund is launched. This is little different. This is the Harvest Bitcoin Leaders Enhanced Income ETF. So just for simplicity, I'll call it the Bitcoin Leaders Fund or the Bitcoin Leaders ETF. So basically, what this fund does is I'll just go to the bullet points. It invests in the portfolio of top companies in the Bitcoin ecosystem, which means the large Bitcoin companies which are into Bitcoin mining, Bitcoin transactions, Bitcoin services, and so on and so forth. And it says Bitcoin is an asset and legitimated by institutional demand, and the companies derive value by providing services around the Bitcoin. So, due to these reasons, this ETF is a new concept which has been designed by Harvest, and there is a covered call on top of this exchange traded fund, and there is a 25% leverage. And just to give you an idea of what type of companies are in this, you need to look at the portfolio. So before that, I'll just quickly go through the key information. The ticker symbol is HBTE, and this is also around $12 mark and launched at the same time. And it's an active covered call strategy fund and monthly frequency of dividends and distribution estimated at 33 cents. And of course, it's high risk rating. Let's go to the portfolio and see what it contains. So in this one, there are about 15 securities. Okay, here comes the names, big names. The MicroStrategy, 13.5% weight. It's a very popular name. Very few people have not heard about it. It's always in the news. And Galaxy Digital, 13.4%. It's into digital assets and services. And Coinbase, which is into crypto trading wallets, pretty popular name. Block, Mara Holdings, and of course, you have other crypto miners. If you look at the fourth column, the sector, it clearly shows you the different sectors of the Bitcoin universe that you're investing in. You're not just investing in Bitcoin miners. You are investing in crypto miners. You are investing in the Bitcoin treasury company, digital assets and services firm, also a cryptocurrency exchange, Coinbase, and the holder of wallets, and so many other players. If I go to the next one, you will see a few more. Yeah, you have a few more crypto miners. Yeah, Bitcoin miner as well. So these are the names that you see currently, like 15 names. Probably this could change over time, but primarily this is going to be Bitcoin oriented firms that are into the Bitcoin ecosystem, either in the form of Bitcoin mining or transaction facilitation, custodial services, digital assets and services, or trading platform exchange, or it could be a clearing and settlement platform, or it could even be future of new banking system or a storage system for newer forms of currency or holdings. So there are numerous opportunities that are going to come in the future, and this is a good way to tap that future that you're getting into. So moving on back to the strategy, it's exactly similar to the previous one. Like you have the same 25% leverage, but here instead of investing in the Bitcoin itself, you're investing in the top companies which are present in that Bitcoin space. So you're not investing in the Bitcoin, but in the Bitcoin services and ecosystem. For example, there's a difference between investing in the gold as a precious metal versus investing in gold mining and gold production companies. The same way, here you are investing in a broad ecosystem which can even go beyond Bitcoin. So I would say this is an attractive option for investors who are looking into this new sector. And these are new funds, so it's too early to make any decision. And this is not a financial recommendation, this is purely for knowledge. So I would say just observe these funds, see how it performs, and then in future you can take a call on whether you want to allocate some investment. However, I would not recommend this to anyone who is starting new, or if you're opening your account right now. I would not recommend this. You should give yourself some more time to learn the market, and then you can look at these funds in the future. And if you're looking to open your first trading or investment account, I have provided some links for Quest Trade, and you can look at Quest Trade as an option, or you can look at passive to analyze your portfolio. So I provided links in my description. You can go ahead and look at that. Or if you want to look at other firms, other options, you are more than welcome to research and do that. And next comes the other interesting part, which I have not mentioned. Is this the first Bitcoin exchange traded fund? No, there are plenty of exchange traded funds which are having exposure to Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other cryptocurrencies. The difference that I would say here is like these are newer funds and they give you the covered call and option income. That is something new that other plain vanilla ETFs cannot provide. And I'm going to quickly show you some interesting facts about another Bitcoin yield generating exchange traded fund. This is from a company called Purpose Invest, and they have something called the Purpose Bitcoin Yield ETF. If you want to know more about this, I have already made a video about this in the past, and that is about how you can make income from Bitcoin funds. So you can look at one of my previous videos. I will put a link to that. Here, what happens is like this company has been um, uh, operating this fund for about more than 3 years. So it's not nothing new. This is based in Canada, but there is also option for US investors to invest as well. So when I look at the details of this fund, I'll go to the overview page. It has the same unique selling proposition. They say no wallet required. Earn yield by investing in the Bitcoin. Earn yield by harvesting volatility rich premiums, and TFSA RRSP eligible, and so on. And you can see the yields are about 12-13%. However, you can see the management fee is pretty high. Harvest is charging you about 65 basis points, but Purpose was more than a percent here. So it's a pretty high on the fee side. Uh, but if you can see that they provide the breakdown of all the portfolio. Like, so the fund is invested 100% in Bitcoin, but they also have 19%, close to 20% in covered calls, and they also show the breakdown of the various call options and how many of them are expiring, in the money, out the money, etc. Some statistical analysis. So if you want to take a look at this, you can go to purposeinvest.com and look at the performance. And by the way, this is no promotion or no recommendation. Do your own research. And this is the performance and distribution page of the Purpose ETF, and you can see that recently they have distributed 0.085, that is 8 8.5 cents. And this is for the month of April, paid on May 2nd. So these are the distributions that they are making currently, and it varies from month to month. If you look at the performance, like over the last 3 years, they gave about 20% returns. However, the returns go up and down. It's nothing to say that there's going to be 20% every year. It varies. Sometimes it's negative, sometimes it's positive. Some years it's very negative, and some years it's too positive. I will show you the calendar wise returns. Like you can see here, the fund was launched late 2021, end of 2021, and in that period, like 2021, like initial 1 month, it delivered minus 18.5% returns. In 2022 it lost 63%. It's a big loss. Like a lot of people lost their money and burned their fingers at this point of time. I also invested somewhere in 2022. Even I lost that money at that point. 2023 they made 109.56%, which means almost like doubled from previous year. And then 2024 again 94%, and 2025 so far it's been flat, minus 0.36. We never know how it's going to be in 2025. It could be flat, it could be positive, we never know. It could be negative, we never know. So that's going to be the fluctuation, but you will get the regular amount of income. And yeah, you have to live with a little bit of capital appreciation or loss, plus you will get the regular distributions. So that is the Bitcoin yield ETF. The ticker symbol is BTCY. So if you're interested, you can look at this fund. Okay, and now I'm going to go back to the HBIX and HBTE, Bitcoin Enhanced Income and Bitcoin Leaders Fund. So I did a comparison of both the funds. I'm going to show you now, and this will give you a quick idea of how these two compare with each other. It's going to be the same information. On the left, I have the Bitcoin Enhanced Income Fund, and on the right side, I have the Bitcoin Leaders Fund. The Leaders Fund is basically the Bitcoin companies which are part of the ecosystem. The first one is a pure Bitcoin fund. Okay, so now in terms of the portfolio, the first fund invests in Bitcoin ETF, that is the iShares Bitcoin Trust. The Leaders Fund is holding top five publicly traded companies which are in the Bitcoin ecosystem space. Assets under management are similar. This is 1.2 million. This is 1.3. Strategy is similar. Covered call strategy with 25% leverage for higher distribution. Similar strategy, although the portfolio composition is different. And call right level. Okay, so both funds write up to half of the portfolio, which means that the level of covered call writing can be adjusted. Like the fund can write up to 50% of the total value of the portfolio, which means the remaining part of the portfolio can get full upside from the price of Bitcoin. Similarly, the second fund also writes 50% of the portfolio, so the remaining part of the portfolio gets upside from the performance of Bitcoin oriented companies. So, which means that your upside is not capped all the time. There is always a room for appreciation and growth. And management fee is 0.65 for the Bitcoin fund and 0.75 for the Bitcoin Leaders Fund. So the Leaders Fund has a slightly higher fee, but not much of a difference. And distribution, I said, yeah, it's 0.24 for the Bitcoin fund and 0.33 for the Leaders Fund. This is actually the starting number. This can vary, and it's difficult to say right now if it's a good yield or not. I'm not doing the calculations or the analysis right now. Give it at least 6 months so that you can observe how it performs. And the distributions are going to be in double digits more or less if everything goes well, or sometimes it could be in high single digits. However, there's no guarantees because Bitcoin price can crash one day, or sometimes the options may not make sufficient income. So nothing is guaranteed. Take everything with a grain of salt. Capital appreciation again is the same thing. Nothing is guaranteed, but the fund will actually participate in the appreciation of the Bitcoin price. And of course, there will also be participation in the downward move of the you know price of Bitcoin. So so when I say appreciation, it also means that it can also include the possibility of depreciation as well. Similarly, the other fund participates in the underlying holdings which have indirect exposure to the Bitcoin market. Basically, indirect exposure in terms of Bitcoin services, custodial services, holding, mining, etc., etc. So performance of the Bitcoin companies will be reflected in the second fund. So that is slightly different compared to the first fund, which is purely based on the Bitcoin itself. Income from underlying. So what is the income that you're getting from the underlying asset? That's what we are talking about. In the first case, from the Bitcoin itself, there is no income from the underlying asset, only the price movement upward or downward. However, when you come to the other side, since the fund is holding underlying companies which are actually doing business of developing products and services for the Bitcoin ecosystem, and these companies generate revenue, profits, and out of the profits they could distribute some dividends. Like, we don't know as of now how many of these companies are profitable and how much of dividends they can declare. It's too early to say right now. However, as the time goes by, there is a scope for dividends from the underlying stocks in the Bitcoin Leaders Fund, because these companies can become profitable and they can start declaring dividends. I would say this is similar to something that we saw in early 2000s. All these Googles and Facebooks of the world, they were startup companies, and they were growing pretty fast, and they were pretty attractive, no doubt about that. But they were not in a position to pay dividends and all that, because they are not established. They are still in high growth phase, and they have to reinvest back into the business to grow and as well as deliver profits on a regular basis. Similarly, they need to deploy the capital back into the business all the time. However, today they have reached a stage where they are generating free cash flows, and they have been doing this for a longer period of time, and they don't need so much of capital to sustain their business and grow their business. They already have sufficient amount of capital, so the extra funds that they have in their balance sheet, they can actually distribute back to equity holders. So that possibility exists in the second fund, but in the first fund you don't have that possibility, because the Bitcoin itself will not generate income. Okay, the last one is pretty interesting. This is something I have added as an extra point. The concentration of the underlying asset. This can make a difference in the future. As of now, most people are focused on the Bitcoin and Bitcoin prices. So the first fund will be a good option, because today the Bitcoin is available at an attractive price. So people are interested in the higher price appreciation plus the income that comes from the covered call writing. It's a simple strategy. The first fund actually serves most people because people are looking for a simpler strategy. The second fund is focusing on companies that are part of the ecosystem of services. It is not that complex, but it is an area that is actually in a developing stage, and it is more diversified actually if you look at it. So in a way, it is kind of positive that it's diversified, more diversified compared to the first fund. The Bitcoin Leaders Fund is more diversified, and it is not exactly tied to the Bitcoin prices. Even though it's oriented towards the Bitcoin sector or industry, the companies themselves may not be affected directly by the Bitcoin prices, because they just support the ecosystem and support the transactions surrounding that system, or surrounding that Bitcoin. So not necessarily betting only on the Bitcoin prices. So that provides you a actually better avenue for future investment and future growth opportunities. Now, which one is a better pick? That's a difficult question to answer. Like, now I have given you the pros and cons. You can go ahead and choose what you want, or you can even look at the purpose investments BTCY as an option. In the future, the second fund, the Bitcoin Leaders Fund, will have a greater advantage, because in the future you will find that these companies or these firms which are serving the Bitcoin eco space will also be expanding into other cryptocurrencies, other ancillary services. They are already spreading into other areas. For example, Coinbase is already into other cryptocurrencies, and they provide wallets for various cryptocurrencies and options. So the future is very bright for the Bitcoin leaders. However, the Bitcoin fund itself is like a main fund, or the mainstream one, and that is also popular as well. So take your pick, whichever is good for you. You can take that. However, I would suggest you to wait for a few months, do your research, and then take the best one, whichever fits your needs. I hope you like this video, and if you like what you're seeing, please feel free to share this video and also drop in your comments or questions.